remarks. Representative Odenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've appreciated some of the prior speakers who've talked just a little bit about their background as to help us understand where they come from on this issue. So I'll just share very briefly. I come at this issue from the standpoint of a farmer's son who grew up in Eureka, who watched his dad work from dark to dark to make our farm work. I've never seen anybody work any harder. And part of my jobs growing up was to pick rocks. Now I have a law office in Spearfish where I help landowners and farmers and people plan their estates. But on one of the shelves in my office, I have a big blue rock that I got from up in Eureka because it helps me remember where I came from. Up here in the gallery with me today is my son James, who's the 6th generation up there with my brother Eric, farming in Eureka. He spent the last couple of months hauling corn. That'll be turned into ethanol. And our family was an early investor in ethanol plants, so definitely not against ethanol, but that's where I come to this from. Why have we had all these emails and all this attention from the voters all over the state? How come they're just not automatically for all of this? Why don't they fall in line? I think there's a collective wisdom in the body politic that's still alive in South Dakota today that has recoiled at the idea of rolling over for Biden's Green New Deal and conceding that there's any merit to tying our ag industry to our carbon index score and to do it using eminent domain. I know that's not why my dad worked from dark to dark to keep that land that was homesteaded by Johannes Odenbach so that it could someday possibly be taken for eminent domain for carbon capture to be put back underground. So when we allow a private corporation to use eminent domain to do that, I think we violate what so many people worked so hard for all those years. Never before have the people risen up against a project in this way, because never before has one really ever been controversial. This isn't just a few rabble-rousers, but it's the expressed will of the people of South Dakota that we're hearing from. I want to dig into this bill briefly. It's got 4 problems as I see it. The first 2 are potential constitutional issues that could come up if this becomes subject to litigation. Article 3, Section 23 prohibits private and special laws in South Dakota. It says the legislature is prohibited from enacting any private or special laws in the following cases. Number 4, regulating county and township affairs. Well, here one can argue we're regulating county affairs for the special purpose of allowing one particular company to steamroll their way through the state. Number 2, restrictions on corporate power found in Article 17, Section 4 of our Constitution. It puts corporations subject to eminent domain in that section, but it also goes on, the exercise of the police power of the state shall never be so construed as to permit corporations to conduct their business in such manner as to infringe the equal rights of individuals or the general well-being of the state. Tough not to see that that very well may be happening here if this goes on. And as I said, we may have to let the courts decide. Next, number 3, I want to talk about what I've heard so many times, the idea of we're changing the rules in the middle of the game, and so we need this law, this bill today. SB 201 is what I would submit to you all changes the rules in the middle of the game. It says to county and city leaders elected by the people, you are suddenly no longer in the business of regulating the health, safety, and welfare of those closest to you if the PUC, pursuant to a pipeline company's application, says you're being unreasonably restrictive, as it says in Section 7. So the rules we've operated under since statehood are being changed in the middle of the game. And this is no game, it's serious business. If you've studied this, it could have potentially fatal consequences if there's ever a burst of one of these. 4th, resisting federal overreach, which is a goal many of us often talk about here. I think this bill is unilateral disarmament in the face of federal overreach. Section 7, paragraphs 1 to 3 is an unnecessary restatement of existing law and may impede our state's ability to resist future federal overreach in pursuit of carbon-neutral Green New Deal laws that threaten our way of life. You think they're just going to stop with carbon capture pipelines? If you research what's going on, it's an effort to define carbon, the building block of life, and be able to regulate everything we do. So I stand today with the thousands of people across our state who've risen up to tell us they don't want this. And I ask you to join me and vote red and stand with the people. Thank you.